Back in March of 2021, I uploaded a video where I ranked the 2021 launch liveries for the Formula 1 season, and that video was based mainly on my initial impressions. Well, the season's come to an end now. We've had 22 races to review how the cars go, how they look, and I have decided to update my rankings and also include the 5 or so special liveries, the one-off liveries that showed up this year as well. So, let's get into it, shall we? In last place, it's a car that I rated actually quite highly at the beginning of the year. It's the Alfa Romeo C41. I've come to realise that I just don't really like this livery anymore. I thought it was great at the start of the season, sort of almost second only to the Alpine, but now, the more I look at it, it just seems so uninspired, and that's kind of been a theme of Alfa Romeo's liveries. The 2018 livery was okay, it was a good start. The 2019 livery was actually quite nice. I liked that. The 2020 livery was sort of a step in the wrong direction. It was still okay. And then there's this, which is only a bit better than the 2018 livery, I find. It's just, it really doesn't hit any good buttons for me, and that's just a bit disappointing. It just doesn't feel like a good livery, and it's just, every time I look at this car, I just don't like it. I can't explain it. It's just, it's disappointing that they've fallen this far. I'm sorry, I can't rate this car any higher than dead last. Next up, it's the Haas Vf21. Yeah, the shill car is at the bottom. But I've got to admit, the livery did sort of grow on me a bit. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but it's definitely not great. It could be better. It's just a car that is completely white. It can look great on an F1 car, but in this case it just doesn't. It's at best meh. It just doesn't really work for me, and it for sure it doesn't really work for a lot of people. If there'd been a bit more blue on the car, if they'd used more of that 1&1 sponsorship to make the car, I don't know, half blue, it might have looked actually quite good, but I guess we'll never know now. I'm not saying it's a bad looking car, it's just, it could have been so much better. So, Haas, I'm sorry, you're right at the bottom. It's maybe a good thing we didn't see so much of you on the cameras this year. Next up, it's another car, another livery that's dropped a mountain of places. The AlphaTauri / Tauri AT02. You know, at the beginning of the year, I didn't think this was such a great livery, and now I look at it more, I just know that this is nowhere near as good as the 2020 livery. It's just so... it's disappointing. It's upsetting. It's so dark. It's dull. It's kind of drab in a way. You look at the AlphaTauri team gear, it looks amazing, and you look at this, it's the complete opposite. After such a strong 2020 livery, this is just... I can't really come up with any new words. I keep using all the same words. I just look at it and feel that this could have been amazing, but I suppose there's only so much you can do with white and navy blue. I like it, but at best, it's okay. I can't rate this much higher than this. Perhaps they should go in a more Toro Rosso direction and add more of that electric blue from the 2017 days, who knows. Next up, another car that previously rated much higher than this, the Aston Martin Amr 21. This car looks amazing under the right conditions, in the right circumstances, but on track, it was hard to tell if you were actually looking at the Mercedes. And if the Mercedes had been silver this year, you would have been able to tell the difference, but with this dark green Aston Martin with supposedly a 1950s shade of British racing green, it was just too similar. And yeah, they really should have found a way to make it pop. The changing of those stripes from what was originally lime green to the BWT magenta, it really didn't help. Those stripes could have helped it pop out a bit more, but here it just... I mean, it adds that splash of colour that it needs. They really should have just left the lime green, because this car just doesn't pop. It really needed some way of being much more recognisable on track, and it just looked way too much like the Mercedes. I like this car, I really do. I think it looks great, but it wasn't inspired enough, I guess. Next, in 11th place, the first of the special liveries, Alfa Romeo's Italy GP livery. It's funny how that small amount of green just absolutely changes my perception of the car. I think what makes me dislike the Alfa Romeo standard livery is just how much white there is. I think I'm kind of the opinion that white on an F1 car doesn't look good if there's too much of it, and I really think there's just too much white on the standard Alfa Romeo livery. So this just looks so much better. It's amazing how much better it looks. I can't really stress that enough. It's a fantastic livery, and it just goes to show how strong the competition gets when you get to the good liveries. I like loads of the liveries on this list. I think some of them are amazing, but they can't all be number one. They gotta go somewhere, and I gotta say, as much as I like that little splash of green, it's still very much the Alfa Romeo livery, but at least it's better than the normal Alfa Romeo livery. Into the top 10 now, and we've got the Ferrari Sf-21. I like how the Ferrari looks. I mean, you can never have enough red on a Ferrari. I mean, red is Ferrari's colour. But what makes me like how the Ferrari looks is more to do with the construction of the car, how the nose looks, how the airbox looks, how the many wings and all that look. The livery is sort of secondary, because a Ferrari is always going to be red, not unless they decide to go the notch direction and go blue and white, which would be very, very strange. For 2021, I think Ferrari reverted to a slightly more conventional type of red. It looks still quite matte though. I think it may well still be matte. But yeah, at the rear of the car you've got that sort of burgundy red, which it looks okay, but it's just a bit weird. And then of course you had that hideous, vibrant green Mission Winnow sponsor, or Wishin, whatever it's called. That simply should have been white. Should have been white. Making it vibrant green was a massive mistake, and it just looked so bad. This car looks a lot better without that hideous green sponsor. But the best I can really say about this car is it looks okay. It's not really a good livery. It's not even really a great livery. This car could have been a lot better if there'd been a lot more black on it. I've seen pictures of the Ferrari Sf-21 that they were using for the 18-inch rim testing in Abu Dhabi, and the rims on that were black. And with the 2019 livery, it activated so many neurons, man. That looked amazing. And if the wheels on this car were black, and if the rear and if the wings, if the end plates of the front and rear wings, and if there was just so much more black on this car, we could have had a great 90s vibe, a sort of retro vibe to this car. But they didn't do that. They went with this weird mix of burgundy and red with vibrant green, and it could have looked so much better. That's all I can really say. In 9th place, I really had to think very hard about this one, and I suppose it's more of a joint 8th place. It's the Red Bull RB16B. Yeah, this didn't rank very high in the original video, and it's still not ranking very high. However, I have to admit that this livery is going to probably go down in history as one of the most iconic liveries of Formula 1 history, sort of alongside the Marlboro McLarens and the JPS Special Lotuses. But I said it in the original video, and I'm gonna say it again here. I'm getting a little bit bored of this livery. It's been practically unchanged since 2016. It's a little different. That's all. There's a few different sponsors. The halo is a bit more crowded, but otherwise, this livery is almost completely unchanged since 2016. Though the game has it a bit wrong. It's not quite the same shade as the actual Red Bull colours, but whatever. It's a good livery, don't get me wrong, it's just I wish it looked different. I wish it was something else. But there is absolutely no shame in liking this livery. I like it myself. Just bored of it is all. Next up in that 8th place spot, it's the Mclaren Mcl 35M. When McLaren revealed this back in February, March, whenever, I was really kind of disappointed because it wasn't different enough from the 2020 livery. There was a splash more blue, they changed the orientation of the stripes and the side pods and the airbox, but otherwise this is, for all intents and purposes, the 2020 livery. Like the 2020 livery, it does look okay, but the matte orange is something that hasn't really clicked with me. It's better than the 2017 livery, it's better than the 2018 livery, but it still hasn't lifted a finger to the 2019 livery, which had a more glossy orange, and the blue was a bit darker, and it was a more interesting pattern. This is quite simple, it's still quite nice, but I can't really say anything more than it's quite good. It's not okay, it's quite good. But the 2019 McLaren livery was better than good. So I hope that the 2022 livery is glossy again, maybe even metallic. Shiny orange might look pretty good. Going on to 7th place, it's the McLaren again, the Abu Dhabi livery, with that rather strange pattern on the sides of the car, the airbox, the side pods, the wing, or wings plural. Yeah, funky, psychedelic. Not really much else to say about the car. It looks kind of good. Just a little bit better than the normal livery. Moving on to 6th place now, and I think this livery hasn't changed its position whatsoever. Maybe a little bit, I don't know. It's the Mercedes W12. it's grown on me, I will say that, but it still doesn't quite, well, let's just say it's nowhere near the level that the 2020 livery was. I'm still not a fan of that strange smattering of AMG on the shark fin. It just looks a bit weird, but the lack of stars is, it's okay. Having a majority black with smattering of the teal, this aquamarine or whatever color it is, it still looks quite good. And that's really the pinnacle of this livery. It's quite good. One thing I don't like about the livery though is the numbers, and that really, really harms it. Because the numbers are part of the livery too. They are literally just an outline of the number. Every year previous they've had solid numbers, really clear and easy to see. But in 2021 they, for some bizarre reason, decided to go with a strange outline which is really hard to see. Now, after pre-season testing, Mercedes did say that they were going to have a look at the visibility of their numbers, and then proceeded to do absolutely nothing. All season, those numbers were just hard to see outlines, and the only way you could really tell the cars apart was by the T-cams, if one was yellow or not, and by the helmets as well, if you could see through the halo. It wasn't until Abu Dhabi when they filled in the numbers of Valtteri's car, making them solid white with a blue outline. And that was all it needed. You could actually see the numbers. But it was only on Valtteri's car. It should have been that way all season. Why didn't they do it that way in the first place? Yeah, that's my main gripes with the car. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. I gotta say, I'm gonna miss the black livery. I think it's already been confirmed that they're going back to silver for 2022. The two black Mercedes we've seen have looked absolutely fantastic, and I'm gonna miss them because next year we go back to silver arrows, and I don't like the silver arrows. Next, another special livery. It's Alpine's Saudi Arabia / Abu Dhabi Alpine livery. Now, I have a lot more to say about the Alpine livery later on, but I gotta say, whilst it retains the essence of the Alpine livery, that green doesn't mix. I like green. It's one of my favourite colours. Suffice to say, you know, I like green. And on this livery, it's a bit garish. It's still okay, but it harms the livery. It looks better when it's just red, white and blue. Red, white, blue and green, no, that's a bit too much. Now, in fourth place, absolutely climbing up the order, is a livery I lambasted in the original video. It's the Williams FW43B. There are some elements of this livery that I don't like. I wish they hadn't included those I don't know, the sticky uppy blue, light blue spiky bits on the engine cover, or at least toned them down. But otherwise, this livery is, I've really grown to like it, and especially because we got to see quite a fair bit of it on screen. This is definitely one of the top liveries this season. It was some people's favourite. This, I wouldn't call it my favourite, but it's definitely, it's good. Though I've got to say, I don't like, I just noticed that little bit of blue on the nose. It should have been entirely white on the nose. But otherwise, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. If I could make this livery look better, more yellow. Definitely needs more yellow. But otherwise, a solid attempt on Williams now that I've had the year to process it. I like it. very, very much, but it is not the top livery. It's only managed number 4. That's how strong the competition is, because in P3, first of the podium spots, it's the Alpine normal livery, the one they raced with for 20 of the 22 races. Considering the A521 is basically just an RS19 with an RS20 nose and a Ligier JS5 airbox, this car looks great. The livery was designed by someone I've followed for a few years now, Sean Bull. He's put up his fan designs for an F1 livery on his YouTube, or not his YouTube, his Twitter or something, for many years, and for the first time he got to design a livery for an actual team, and he knocked it out of the park. Just look at it, man. Look at it. It is absolutely what you've come to expect from Sean Bull in all of his years of designing liveries. Sean Bull. That metallic, electric blue, neurons activated, man. Seriously, take a bow. You have created a stunning livery, but it's not the best of the season, because Red Bull have taken P2 with their one-off Turkish/Japan Grand Prix livery. Now, I realise I'm kind of contradicting myself here, because earlier I said that a car that is majority white doesn't typically look great to me. But I also said that if done right, it can look great. And this is done right, man. Especially with the context that this was meant to be for the Japanese Grand Prix. This was Red Bull saying sayonara and thank you, arigato, to Honda for giving them so much success, for allowing them to chase for the title in such a long time. And also because it's not their standard livery. It looks so much better to see the Red Bull in a colour that isn't some derivative of blue or purple. This is one of the best looking Red Bulls ever, and I've got to say, it's the second best looking car of the year. Livery. When I say car, I usually mean livery. I'll point that out in the pinned comments too. But it is not the best livery of the year, because that accolade goes to McLaren for knocking it out of the park with their one-off Monaco Gulf livery. Holy shoot. This, when people say they miss the Gulf livery, this is what they want. This gives me so much 60s vibes when you see pictures of the Ford GT40 or the Porsche 917s wearing that simply iconic baby blue and orange. And this, like, if the Alpine has activated so many neurons, and if the, whichever one it was, I think the Alfa Romeo Italy livery, if that activated some of my neurons, this activates every single neuron in my entire body. That is how good this is. And I wish they could have run with it all season. But we'll just have to take one. This is, without a doubt, one of the best looking liveries of all time. And it got to go on a Formula 1 car. Especially one of the 2017 to 2021 Formula 1 cars, which are some of the best looking Formula 1 cars in history. So, that's how I'm going to sign off this video. Because In 2022, the regulations change and Formula 1 cars will look drastically different. Completely different from how they've always looked. The end plates will be practically gone, a thing of the past. The DNA of Formula 1 is changing. So, I think it's time to say goodbye to these cars that I have grown to love, and I'll sign off this video with some of Formula 1's greatest hits of the 2017 to 2021 regulations. Thank you for watching, everyone, and good night. The 2017 regulations may not have given us the greatest of racing, but damn did they look good. Thank you, you wide boys. Thank you for looking good.